Okay, so what I'll try to do is, excuse me. Let's see. As you already know, I always start with a few slides that's reminding you what we did before. And then we will work on WBS. And then some different examples, and we're going to talk about which example helps in which situations. I'm going to ask for your feedback on that, and then I'll make an introduction to PERT. And then we will have hands-on activities, okay? Okay, so who can tell me one sentence about this? One sentence about this. If you can. Miscommunication. Okay, miscommunication, accepted. What are the common themes about project management? Project definitions. There are multiple project management definitions or project definitions, right? The temporary and unique is the common themes. All projects are temporary, all projects are unique, right? How about the triple constraints? What are the triple constraints? Time, scope, and budget. Yeah, in some places, in some references, you will see budget as cost, right? So I make, as you know, I make it as TSC. I think I told you this, right? That's how I remember it. TSC, time, scope, and cost. That's my acronym for that. I always study like this. I always find a way to remember things, especially if you are gonna be certified. You want to use this in your life, in your professional life as well, right? So it's always good to remember these things, and these may come up in the quiz as well, okay, which we will talk about. There's also an extended version of TSC, right? Do you remember any of the extended version that project management needs to juggle? Project manager needs to juggle them? There was an extended version as well. Do you remember any of those things? For example, risk is one of them, right? Quality, yes, thank you. Quality is one of them. Risk is one of them. Communication, one of them. Satisfaction of the customer, one of them. It's not really time, scope, and cost, which will be so much easier for a project manager. But we have others as well, okay? So please review those slides before the quiz. You know the project management process, okay? So that was what I was talking about, Deborah, right? You will quickly find out, probably, because you now have the knowledge, you're gonna be, if you are in the closing phase, right? If they want you to close it out or something, or maybe you are in the execution phase, the company is in the execution phase and they want you to do something related to UX or something, right? So you will quickly know which phase are you, or if they are hiring their project managers just now and trying to come up with the scope and you know, all these things, probably somewhere in the initiation projects, right? Initiation phase. So you'll quickly learn where you are, and then you'll get from there. Okay, good. This will also come up in the quiz. Hierarchy, you know the hierarchy. Project management, program management, portfolio management is very important. So the lowest level is project management. It's not about like being superior to others, but like you report to them, right? Because program managers has more projects and portfolio managers has like even more programs, right? But I also showed you this. Sometimes you will have, I always like my pencil, project that has no program, which is directly connected to or reporting to portfolio. Sometimes you will have really formally structured like this one. You have 3 projects, you know, connected or reporting to the lower level program, and then the higher level program, and then the portfolio, right? Okay. So these may be the case. That's why I say kind of hierarchy. You will not exactly find this like project, program, portfolio. Okay. What can you say about this? Could you just quickly add this new feature, or like, requirements creep. What is a good sentence if a customer comes up to you and say this? No matter which phase are you in, no matter which project are you doing, never say yes, never say no, because whatever that you say after say yes and no, they will only remember yes and no. Okay. The second thing, do not just say, I'm going to ask my team. First, see, like Mian said, ask him questions, and then really try to understand if she knows what she's asking, right? If she knows what maybe she will say, oh, I don't really know. In our meeting, just one of the team members told me that, and then I wanted to ask you. Well, you are asking me, but what do you mean, right? And then before you take the responsibility on your side, right? Because you ask some questions, of course, kindly, right? Not criticizing or anything, but trying to help, but ask questions. And then she will say, okay, before you do anything, let me go back to my team and really ask and learn, what do we want? And then she will come back to you, and then you can say, oh, great, let me talk to my team, and I'll get back to you next meeting, next week, tomorrow, whatever. Because when you are reiterating the same information, you may do typos, right? But if you include a link, if you direct them to the real source, right, then they will see the correct information right there. So if you are, and we'll cover this in the technical communication side of things, but don't repeat the same information in different means, because if you do any typos, which happens, it'll be your responsibility, right? So I always tell them, hey, okay. So that's my way of doing things after so many decades working with people. Don't let this happen to you. Who can tell one sentence about this one? So how can you avoid this? Yep. Communication, meetings, scheduling after actively listening to the other person, right? Yeah, these are all helps. And coming up with the scope, and everybody signs the scope, right? And then everybody understands the same thing, hoping. Okay. Good, very good. And the scope is, here. Look, this is very, very important. Signed and documented. Sometimes we forget to sign or get it signed, and sometimes we forget to document. I mean, who can easily find what happened last year for the same conference, right? What was the final product? I mean, we have tens of versions of the same thing. Which one was the final one? Which did you edit the final one after your boss's input, right? All these things. It's not really easy documenting something, okay? So please make sure that you document it. Okay, work breakdown structure. So I showed you this one, which is a very common one. It looks like an organizational chart as well. If you know a little bit of information like organizational management, you will clearly recognize this one. And the name is already org chart, right? So because it really looks like an org chart. Okay. So what happens is you're gonna get your project, which is, in this case, we are furnishing a classroom, right? That's our project. So how can you organize your project, right? That's WBS. In this case, it's a conference. So for a conference, what do you have? You have to have a venue, right? It's going to take place somewhere. What else do you have? Well, you have attendees, right? You have speakers. Someone will talk. There will be a keynote speaker. There will be like some famous people speaking, whatever. There will be students, members, industry speakers, academia speakers, right? There will be publicity. There will be flyers, printouts, websites, all these things, right? And there will be handouts like on the desks, on the tables. When people come, they will just get them. And then logistics, right? Logistics is a lot for a conference. So that's how you can organize it, right? You can organize, you can plan your conference thinking about different aspects. And then, for example, in the let's pick one. Let's pick speakers, right? Let's pick speakers. So who are my speaker options, right? Who's gonna send my invitations, right? And who's gonna book the speakers? Is going to have somebody for the graduation speech, right? So in this conference, who are we thinking as speaker, right? Options. So one team is gonna formalize the options and bring it down to 3 maybe, right? And then you're gonna send invitations. Somebody will send invitations because they will not all be available, right? And then somebody will confirm and book the speaker, right? They're gonna talk to their front desk. They'll make sure they have the flight tickets, they have the room, right? Somebody needs to do all these things, right? And these are all actions. That's one way to do it, okay? There are others as well. This is what we call list, okay? Same thing, venue, attendees, speakers, publicity, handouts, logistics. There you go. Same thing, just a different picture, okay? Which one is good? Well, you can use both, but a mind map, how about a mind map? I use this a lot. So same thing, venue, attendee, speaker, publicity, handout, logistics. And of course, lessons learned, right? Previous conference materials. I love this. I always want to say this. Previous conference, previous classroom, furnishing classroom, previous courses, previous whatever, right? Everything. This is a mind map. Okay. And this is a waterfall. Same thing, just a different show. Let's see if I can find the things. Oh, this is difficult. Handouts, right? Previous conference, speakers, and yeah, venue, right? All these things. Okay, so same thing, it's just a different thing, different picture. Okay, so which one would you prefer? Let's see. Which one do you use in your life, in your professional life or personal life? I use, especially the mind map, I use in my personal life as well. Which one is your favorite? Or maybe from now on, it's going to be your favorite. Yeah, you see how the communication really improved once I put the numbers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. So number 4, what is missing there, Ralph? Manager, and you gave this to me. I am one of the, there are multiple teams. I am one of the team's team member, right?
Mhm.
And I want to do the work. You gave this to me, work breakdown structure. Is it clear what I should do? If you print this out and then put it on the wall, everyone will understand, right? But as one of the multiple teams team member, right? Will I understand what will I did? Let's say I am I am the selected subject matter team member. What should I wait? It's not clear, right?
Yeah.
What's coming before me, what's gonna come after me is not clear, right? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I also prefer list, but everything is missing something. So whatever is the most convenient for your company, for your project, product, you should choose that one. Good. What is difficult about number 2? So we have the ingredients and we have the cooking instructions, right? So there's 2 things, ingredients and then cooking instructions, right? Number 1, the good thing is you can change very easily. Sorry. You can edit it. You can add a 8 one. Let's see. If I want to add an 8, right? Something here, it's really easy. I don't need to change the other stuff, right? But let's say I want to add something here. right? Oh my goodness, how am I gonna add it? Like, if I want to add an 8, where am I gonna add it, right? Because if I add, let's say here, but this all says arrows and precedence, right? This shows what's gonna come next, what's gonna come before, right? So I have to, like, maybe I'm not doing like in reality, but maybe I have to erase this here and then new arrow here, and this will go all the way down here, right? And this will affect this. So I gotta make this over here, right? Do you understand what I mean? You can't really change it. It's really hard to change it. So this is kind of the last process that you're gonna hand it over to someone to the lowest level that's gonna do the work once it's like really concrete. Because remember, plans will be updated. So that's gonna be really difficult to update this. It's a downsize, but this also works beautifully, like, but it doesn't. It's just my writing here, okay? It doesn't show a hierarchy. It doesn't show a sequential order, okay? So it's just like whatever you think, you're just gonna categorize your thoughts and about the venue, about the attendees. It's not showing me a hierarchy. If you want a hierarchy, not a hierarchy, but the precedence, right? It's number 2. Number 2 shows it perfectly. So I kind of summarized, but I also have a caveat about one of you said, if you create multiple of these, I'm gonna ban you doing that. Okay, choose one. Okay, well, on your desk as a project manager, do whatever you want. But now it's time to communicate it with others, share it with others. Please share only one of them. Okay, maybe do this first, or maybe do this first, right? It's kind of a mind map. You're gathering your thoughts, you're clustering your thoughts, and maybe switch to this, and then finally get to this one if it's like a step-by-step instructions for people to work, especially for crowded teams. But please, please, please don't share this one and this one with the wider audience. Please only share one thing, okay? Because if you share these ones, they will ask questions about those, but it's already updated. Some of them will not see number 2. They will still have number 3. You know, all this confusion about miscommunication. Just share one thing, okay? I don't care what do you do on your desk, as long as you don't share with the wide audience, okay? Okay, so these are the downsizes. I don't want to say this is the best, right? Whichever works for you, in which case, just use it. Okay? All right, okay. So we talked already a lot about WBS. So you're gonna subdivide, the project deliverables, smaller and more manageable chunks to make it more understandable, right? It's kind of a hierarchy. Okay, for example, think about you are furnishing a classroom, right? Do you do the lighting first, furniture first, or IT first? Like, you have to think about it, right? Which comes first? It's a good brainstorming tool. We mentioned those. You can attach cost, assign people the work, think about the durations, right? Top down. It's a top-down approach or bottom-up. I want to emphasize this one. It can be hardware related, function related, or time sequence. Okay, you can do a work breakdown like this, for example. How can you what are the sub projects in furnishing a classroom? That's going to be an assignment, so please listen carefully. So let's say one of those sub projects can be IT. You agree? Yeah. One of them can be like the real furniture, which is the, desk tables and professor's desk, and maybe some other handicap, disabled people desk. And we think all of these things when furnishing, and you should as well. What else? Maybe lighting, right? and maybe you can say software, like every software, right? And then you come up, oh, maybe software goes under IT, right? So yeah, maybe you go down one more below, maybe software, and now you think of hardware, right? You want to know, like, will there be a Zoom component, right? I don't know. Is it gonna be Mac or Windows, right? Maybe like this. Hardware. What can we say about hardware? Like the screens, maybe. How many of them, right? How many computers, right? How many machines, right? How fast are they? Are you gonna do? Are you gonna use this lecture hall as a lab, maybe for some simulation, right? So you come down to the lowest level of, and then you do this for the furniture as well, lightning, and we deleted the software. Okay, so you can do hardware related, or you can do like time sequence, right? And this shows you this. First, I'm gonna do the furnitures, right? After furnitures, I'm gonna think about the lightning. After lightning, I'm gonna think about IT, right? Now it's time sequential. Okay. So you decide which works for you. Okay. It all works. And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit and show you this one. So what are the benefit of doing this? So you can attach the the lowest level durations, right? For example, installing Zoom will take 1 day, or you come up with these durations and then you add them up, and then you come up with a project timeline. You come up with all the tasks. You leave out nothing. So when you communicate your WBS, everyone in the team understands what is required, when it's gonna be done, who is gonna do it. Okay. Authorities, linking to objectives, responsibility, detailed planning. You're gonna update this, remember? You'll always update it, okay? If it's a big project, it's gonna be updated. Cost, that's a wonderful one. You know how much is Zoom, so you attach it. You know how much the furniture will cost, you attach it, right? And then you add them up, you aggregate everything, and you have the total cost. And time as well, right? Time as well. So your boss will be interested in cost and time mostly. Others, they will not really be interested in, okay? So this is really helpful for those things. So various types, we already talked about these things. So work package, there's this thing called work package, okay? The work package, knowing, understanding work package is very important. So work package is level 4, right before the activities. After work package, there's activities. Okay, for example, as I said in the beginning, installing the tires in a company, in a factory, can be a work package. Screwing it, really installing it, like doing the actual work, can be an activity. There may be more than one activity there, but installing the tires may be one work package, which cannot be further subdivided. Well, you can't really further divide installing a tire, right? I mean, you just need to install it, right? So you can't really subdivide it. That's where you stop. In the assignment, I want you to stop there as well. You stop where you can't really go further, okay? Also, it's clearly distinguishable, and that's the rule of thumb. And it requires 8 to 80 hours. So from 1 day to 2 weeks, okay? If it's more than 2 weeks to do it, the work package, probably you can subdivide it. So I want you to subdivide it to 2 things, right? If it's less than 8 hours, which is 1 day, it's not probably a work package. you should consider it as an activity. Okay, so 8 to 80 hour rule is a rule of thumb to come up with your okay. So numbers, we already talked about the numbers. Benefits, you all know it now. Let's do, oh, somebody also mentioned, I think it was Ricky, Ricky. We need a little bit more information, right? That's where comes the work breakdown structure dictionary really handy. We usually attach a dictionary to the WBS. That's called WBS dictionary. So it's a little bit more details about every box. And usually it's written in Excel, like you have 111, let's say buying the furnitures, and then you have an explanation, who's gonna buy it, when it's gonna buy it, what's the color, whatever they need to know, right? So it really supplements the real WBS, and we call it WBS dictionary, which you look at your dictionary to understand the words more, right? That's why they call it WBS dictionary. You have the WBS, but it's not including everything. So then you look at your dictionary to understand what that means. Okay, WBS dictionary. Okay, so you have the best WBS. You really detailedly planned it out, and whichever best fits for your product, project, company, you have it. So what? Now you need, like John said, you need, is your project planning complete? No, that's just the first step. Okay. Now you need a sequential planning as well. Remember what I said in the WBS? It's not really hierarchy. The list doesn't really say this will come before that, in especially other than waterfall, nothing else, none of them tells which comes first, which comes next, time, sequential, functional, hardware. It doesn't say anything. It's just a grouping of what's gonna be done. Okay. So the next step, because in the video, boss said, how much is it? And when are we gonna deliver? He's not interested in anything else, right? So you gotta do something sequential order, right? Sequentially. So you gotta sequentially list out your activities, and finally, the last action will be delivering the client, and then create a network, and then have a final delivery acceptance day. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. So project managers' work is never ending really until it's accepted. Not saying delivered, because sometimes you deliver, but it's not accepted, right? That's why in the scope, there is an acceptance criteria, right? If you go back to slides, probably you'll see there's an acceptance criteria. What we call PERT. So let's say you're writing a report, right? One of the activities is writing a report. So you're completing whatever testing you are doing for a product, right? And then you're writing a report is an activity. And then you're completing the final report, which is activity number 10, let's say in this case, and completing the testing, activity 9. So is that clear? Like, can you clearly understand what is to be done? You know, there's all other activities before this, you know, activity 8, 7, 6, whatever. And then I'm just showing you here. Do you understand what is to be done here? Yeah, so you need a time report. Right, John, exactly. You need a time element, right? How long does it take for the report to be written? But before that as well, to complete the final report, you have to complete the testing, right? Now the arrows tells me before I even start writing the report about the test should be completed. So if I'm a report writer, let's say my assignment is writing the report, I should go talk to tester guys and say, is it done? When it's done, I'm gonna get all the documentation and write the report, right? And it's gonna take time. How long, right? That's what we need to do. We cannot just say our boss that we completed the final report, and when he asks, well, is the test complete? No, they're gonna complete 1 week later. Well, how come you write the final report before the testing is complete? right? So that's what I mean, the sequential. That's somehow similar to waterfall, right? All the arrows shows you this should be complete before the next one starts, right? Okay, so that's the what you need to do next after WBS. Let's say this takes 3 weeks, right? It takes 3 weeks for me to write the report. And let's say I want to annotate here. Let's say this is the 15th week of our project, whatever we are doing, okay? And testing is done in 15th week. When can I probably complete my final report? Weeks, right? 18th week of the project, the final report will be completed. Okay, so we don't attach any dates like calendar dates to these things because you never know, right? You're always late. One day be early, maybe late. So we tell these 3 weeks. We don't say from 1st of April to 21st of April. We don't say that. We always use the generic timing. Okay, generic periods. I'm kind of, if you can observe it, I'm kind of making a transition from WBS to the network scheduling to tell the boss really when are you going to be done. Okay, because that's one of the questions that they will ask. And sometimes after one activity, which we call the burst points, there will be multiple activities, right, that can be starting, and we call it burst point. And sometimes before an activity, like in this case 32 is complete, before it starts or it's complete, 31, 18, and number 17 activities should be completed, right? And we call it sync. So sometimes we have the burst points, sometimes we have the sync points. Okay, so that's how we do it. And then you have this long and complex things that you create. So we're transitioning from WBS to this. How many paths do you see here? From 1 to 9. To start with 1 and to end with 9. 4. What else? 4. So there's 4 paths that you can follow. And this gets really complex really easily. Okay, because you want to decide which path are you going to follow as a project manager, because some paths will be longer time, some paths will be shorter time, and that's what we're going to work next week.